Does she have you in the basement? It's okay. Be careful that you always keep it to yourself.
Right.
But basically, you can tell her that a majority of the council thinks, instructor staff. So, I mean, that's about what we do. They brought it up yesterday. Oh, my God. So, like, it's not like letting them share. If they do it before us, we don't do it.
Right.
If we do it first, then they do it, then we all get it.
Right.
But if they beat us to it, which is not a race, all three of them made the indication they didn't want to step on our toes. So, and I don't know if I told you, he actually.
Cause I
Wiping off my car, took a nap.
So after we spoke, I thought you'd have it all set up. You guys, I am so trusting. We have 4 minutes. Well, that clock's probably off. Too. That's it. Just hit go. Yeah. And then I can hit the key right here if you want me to. Yeah, just sort of move. You read the full report by chance? That's long. It's actually, most of it is just a bunch of project stuff in the back, only 24 pages. I have it on
Are you going through all 136 pages on this?
Every bit. I'm gonna make sure you guys did your homework. It's gonna be a
Meanwhile.
quiz, okay?
Tonight at
You too.
midnight.
I don't know if you guys read this report, but it's actually interesting if you get into that type of thing, so, okay.
1 through 50, George. Then she can read, no, then you can read 2 through 100 and I'll read, you know. Try on the agenda tonight, faster you are, the faster you get to go home.
How'd you do that?
Good evening, welcome to the study session on October 22nd, 2024. Donna, will you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Councilmember Flesh.
Here.
Councilmember Stearns. Here. And Councilmember Gilmore is on Zoom this evening. Let me see, you were unmuted a second ago. Can you hear us, Councilmember? You're still muted, sir.
The record show that we stand is here.
I can see him. I don't know why that isn't working. Mayor Inesco.
Here.
Councilmember Sherman, or excuse me, Deputy Mayor Sherman is absent this evening. Councilmember Sapp and Councilmember Gutierrez.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
Tom, if you can hear us, just raise your hand so we know you can hear us at least.
I can hear you all now. Sorry, I'm here.
Want to make sure you can hear us before we started. All right. Tonight, Public Works Director Jay Harris has some information for us regarding pavement preservation program. That's a lot of P.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Jay Harris, your Public Works Director. So I have an update on our pavement preservation program. We just got this pavement condition rating program report done. The last one was done when I started here. It might have been done a little bit before that, 2019 or something. We just had an update of our pavement condition survey, and I want to go through the news with you. So first slide here, this is Park Street 2021. I've been here for a little bit. This was, I think it was about a 2.5 inch depth. It might have been 3 inch overlay of the existing roadway. You can see it was pretty heavily cracked. A lot of that was, if you remember, the log trucks, SPI. This is not a truck route. And they changed their entrance or something, and they started using Park Street, but they exploded it really quickly because there's really no base rock under it. And so we ended up with a really grooved roadway section. And so we put down 3 inches of asphalt on this stuff called Petromat. It's like a fiberglass grid that you pull really tight on the pavement. And basically it pulls all of the underlying pavement together, and it adds an inch or 2 of asphalt in total section, just geotextile. So we put it down, but the roadway section needed like another 2 to 3 inches of asphalt to make it heavy enough for truck traffic. So we determined with that extra cost, it was like $250,000 to add the extra asphalt. We also were concerned about the 7th Street Bridge and trucks going over that bridge continually, which we own and maintain, that we worked and said, you know what, we need to find a different truck route. So I can tone it down a little bit. So the trucks are moved to railroad is a truck route. So the trucks are staying on the truck route. So just real quick on that. Next, actually, I think I can do this.
There you go.
No, we got to do this
No,
one.
it just is.
Oh, did it? It's just a little slow. Okay, so I want to go through how pavements are classified. It's really important because this study, every street, the whole city was walked by the consultant. And then they rated the roadway conditions. If you had a chance to read the full report, they go through ad nauseum how they rate. Well, it's really important that the couple people that did this rated them the same. So you end up with the same report on every street because one person couldn't do all this. So there's a standard rating system. So the pavement condition index, PCI and PCR, which is the rating. So you have an index and a rating, go interchangeably. So you'll see through the presentation and the report, sometimes they're interchangeable, but very good. That's a brand new roadway. Good, you can see the paving line down the middle. That's probably ready for a crack seal. That's typically when we try to get to stuff like that.
Which one?
The good one with the PCI of 70. Even the fair one, you could see we would probably go attempt to crack seal, maybe do a little bit of remedial work. The very good, good, and fair are the pavements that we need to catch before they turn to the poor, right? What happens is when you start getting water in there and the repetitive car and truck traffic, it starts to break it up and the pavement alligators. You can see what happens to very poor. You don't want to drive on that. And then a gravel road has a pavement condition index of 0. And they were not in the rating system. We do have some gravel road, a lot of alleys mostly, but some up on Capitol Hill, that sort of thing. Todd Rhodes is our Public Works Street Superintendent. I don't know if you know Todd. His goal by the time he retires is to have no gravel roads in the city. We'll see. So crack sealing, at least extensive treatment. It prevents a lot of the moisture from getting into the underlying base rock. A fog seal is the next one. So you crack seal first to take care of the big cracks. Then you hit it with a fog seal. It seals micro cracks, the things that are hairline, the things you can't see, and preserves that pavement surface a little longer. Then you have a thing called a slurry seal. Those are really common. We don't do that here, but again, it's sand mixed with the fog seal. And it actually fills in the cracks better. It makes the road, you see here, they look almost brand new when you're done. It doesn't add any structural component to the roadway though. It just seals off the surface. And you get about 10 years out of a good slurry seal. Chip seal is the next type of pavement maintenance. You see different versions of chip seals. The one we did on 13th, I don't know if you remember that from a few years ago. We put down asphalt, we put the rock chips in it, and then we fog seal over the top of it. It ends up that it's nearly like pavement. You could still get some raveling and some a little bit of surface wear, and you can see a little bit of that here on this picture. But for the price per lane mile, it is, especially if you have something that was in, I went all the way to the front. Let's get back here. Something in the fair condition, you wouldn't chip seal that poor roadway. It's beyond that. But something in this fair condition, we typically chip seal with some dig outs of the really alligator spots. And then you got a pavement overlay. You can do a thin lift overlay, which is 1 inch. I've done quite a few of those in the last city that I worked for. They hold up pretty darn good, especially if you don't have a lot of truck traffic and you're just trying to repair the surface, buy 10, 15 years out of it. And then like on Park Street, though, we put down 2 to 3 inches. That's pretty typical for an overlay. Then you get to the grinding and inlay projects. That's where you take the pavement out and you put new pavement back in again. That's for the highly distressed pavements. Usually the base rock under it is sufficient, and all you got to do is replace the asphalt surface. If the base rock is no good under it, usually it's not deep enough, or it's highly contaminated because the water has ran into it for so long and you get mud in it and all sorts of stuff. You can see Turner here in 2018. I found a picture of that. And anyways, that was a full depth replacement where we went in, dug out the whole roadway, put in new base rock and put in new pavement. Very expensive.
Where does our, we still have cement roads around? Asphalt, not asphalt, cement, what do we do? there?
Portland cement concrete. So these are asphalt concrete roadways I'm talking about, primarily downtown or Portland cement concrete roadways. I would say from first to like 7th, 8th, right in that range. Probably 3/4 of the roads are still concrete paving, Portland cement concrete paving. When we developed the design and construction standards, we made sure one of the goals in there was to preserve the concrete roadways. And this was a council decision. We talked about it. And so the way it works is this, is if more than half of the road has asphalt paving like this, you can continue that block and continue and finish that block with asphalt paving. But if it's less than 50%, which is most of the roadways, we will go in when we're patching and doing things and bring back the Portland cement roadway, just like Coda Street is one of them. 1930s, some panel replacement and repairs, but the maintenance interval on concrete is well less than asphalt paving, but it's like triple or quadruple the cost, right? So it's a cost benefit thing. The reason why they did a lot of these roads downtown in concrete is because asphalt wasn't available back then. All they knew was concrete roadways. So great question. Also, when you're driving a roadway, a lot of these older roadways, like Olympic Highway North, in the 90s, when we repaired it last time, it had a concrete roadway from the state under some asphalt. And you could tell if about every 20 feet, you hit a crack, another crack, another crack. Every 20 feet, you're going to thump, the thump, the thump when you're going down the road. Usually there's they call it the old market road is laying under there. It's Portland cement concrete. In the 90s, when they redid Olympic Highway North, they brought in a massive weight and dropped it and pulverized that concrete under the roadway before they overlaid it way back when. And I'll talk about that section of roadway in a minute. So crack seals every 3 to 5 years. Fog and slurry seal coats every 7 to 10 years. These are just general guidelines. If the road's heavily used, the interval increases, right? If it's a low use road, we did some chip seals that are 10 to 15 years old and they're starting to show their wear, but we've gone back and crack seal them because you want to keep crack sealing those roads and they need it. But if they're really low volume roads, you get some miles out of them. After a while though, when you keep doing a slurry seal or a chip seal, usually you have to overlay the road or do something to it. Those are just maintenance things. Eventually you have to either put new asphalt down or dig the road up or do something that's quite a bit more expensive. So full removal of the pavement and base rock is needed when the surface is highly fractured and the base rock section is inadequate, contaminated, or it's just ended at the end of its service life. And then if you fully remove the roadway and put it back in again, you're going to get 20+ years out of that asset, again, depending on traffic and loading and all that. So it's the most expensive, but it's the most reliable. And I guess there's one more than that. If you put a Portland cement concrete roadway in, you would even extend the service life even farther. The problem is you get into these really expensive, and you'll see the numbers in a minute. We got to try to stay out of these extensive, expensive repairs. So, and I talked about this, the interval schedules of these type of things all vary with traffic, loading, soil subgrade support. So if you go up on the hill where there's a lot of gravel and it's really well draining, putting the water into that pavement section, it runs through, it doesn't puddle under it. Down here though, we call them bird baths. If it puddles, they turn into alligators, which turn into potholes. And then we got to go dig it out, try to break the seal and repair that pothole until we get back to fixing the road later. So the pavement condition index, so in 2029, we had a rating of in 2020, we had a rating of 69. Back then, we were estimating that about 580,000 a year going to the roads would maintain the pavement condition index. And so, actually, I was incorrect there. They estimated that at our current funding level, we're actually going to drop in the rating using our current funding. That engineer at that time said, hey, you don't have enough money going out here. We're using the TBD funds and you're not putting enough money on these roads. You're going to have issues. And it actually rates higher now if you read the report. And I'll tell you a couple of reasons why. So in 2020, they said you need 1.2 million. And we weren't spending the TBD dollars at 1.2 million. But when you look at the total value of projects, and I'll get to a slide in a minute, with using TBD fund and leveraging Brockdale, where we paid about 15 cents and got 85 cents from the state, Railroad Avenue, it was probably a 40-60. We're leveraging the TBD funds on these high dollar projects to try to get to that $1.2 million level, even though our city coffers, we don't have that kind of funding coming in. So this little chart down here is a really good thing. So what it shows is D-Day hits on any pavement surface. So if you've been out to the brand new subdivision, Meadows Edge, it was paved about a year ago. If you drive out there 12 years from now, you're going to see some stress fractures and issues out there, right? You want to be at that top. So you see the $2 for preventive maintenance here. So if we're crack sealing, chip sealing, slurry sealing, especially on the local roadways, we sort of bounce along that top black line, okay? But if you let it get to year 15, you're doing some major repairs on that roadway if you don't go out and do anything. So that's what that diagram, this is for asphalt pavement, not for Portland cement concrete pavement. So we don't want that to happen. We're trying to stay out of expensive repairs. So it's like the roof of your house. If the shingles start looking old and you get a leak here and there, you got to replace the roof, right? Same thing with the pavement. You got to stay on it. So here's the map from 2020. That was the pavement condition index of 69. So the green roads were good. The more magenta roads and red roads were the ones that had low pavement condition indexes. So some of the projects in the last 4 years or so, we did about 4.48 miles, which is quite a bit of roadway in 5 years using the existing TBD funds, leveraging. So I talked about Park Street, it's down by Nealon Park there. Down below Park Street, those little tiny projects were done by a Cascade Gas. When they went in there, they put a bunch of services in. We had them chip seal the roadway. It's one of our design standards. And if you rip up the roadway, you got to bring it back to life again. And so we did that. You can see the Alder Street connection there. You can see a little bit of paving we did up on Capitol Hill up there. You can see some stuff we did in the Mountain View area. You got Brockdale Road there. So we did pretty darn good in 4 years. And then we don't show the crack sealing map and the pothole repair and spot paving repairs where we'll go do 100 feet, that sort of thing. These are the major projects, not the minor, more day-to-day type of stuff. So here's the new map that came out. Our average actually went up to from 69 to 72, which is the good news. It means that the investment that we're making in our system's working, right? A lot of it is the street crew getting out there and really staying on these things. And you can see a lot of green on the map. You can see some red and magenta, some yellow. You know, we want to stay out of the reds. We want to stay in the magenta and greens. And so if you look at the good pavement sections, the yellows, those are the ones that you go fix first. Okay, and I have gone through that. I'll go through it more in a minute, but those are the ones that we could still save for low dollars. And you don't go to red, which they're 4X type of repairs. So they're the best investment we can make right now. So you can see the very good and the good and the poor and the very poor is all broken out there. So in this new analysis, this report, I know you guys read it cover to cover. Actually, you didn't need to, but I put it in there if someone was eager and wanted to see how they put one of these together. So with no pavement maintenance, we'll drop down from the 72 to a 61 in 2029. And that's estimated by the software program, right? And it might not drop that far, it might drop a little more. So the projects that we've gained, obviously we lose today. They threw this in here. If we want to go from the 72 to an 85 in the next 5 years, we need to put $30 million in the pavement system. We didn't think that's very realistic. There's not enough grant opportunities out there, and the Transportation Benefit District is funding the program, but not at a super high level. Also, the street program is being supplemented by the general fund. This year it was 400,000, and next year it's about the same. So it's being propped up by the general fund also. So that third bullet point, so if we want to maintain the PCI 72, they're saying we need 10.5 million spent in the next 5 years, or 2.1 million a year. And we have 38.5 center line miles of roadway. So that isn't lane miles, that's the center lines, okay? So to be able to do that, I mean, obviously we don't have 2.1 million a year coming in TBD from the general fund. Then we have some other gas tax sources and some other smaller funding that comes in, but we need to leverage grants. And so we need to leverage grants, complete self-performed projects like what we just did up on Capitol Hill. We need to do joint projects with Mason. I'm sorry, self-performed projects are ones that we would go do, like small 200-foot patches. That'd be the crack sealing program that we have, potholing to try to keep the water out. The joint projects are like up on Capitol Hill with Mason County. We just completed that. The prior year, we completed Front Street with them. And then also we have projects that general contractors, where we go out to bid and have general contractor take care of it. We did that with Park Street, Railroad Avenue. A project next year is around the courthouse. We're trying to upgrade some of the Portland cement concrete pavement there. Probably gonna have to bring in a specialist for that. That's pretty heavy hitting. So they're estimating that about in the next 5 years, that out of that 10.5 million, that we have about 4.5 million goes to rehabilitation and repair, and then about 6.1 million to preventative maintenance. So staff is recommending that we shoot just to maintain the 72. It's a strong C, and or it's a lower C if you're in school, but for most agencies, that's a good number, okay? And try to improve on it. And a report 5 years from now, it'd be nice to see that was 75, right? And we show that we just keep climbing out of this deferred maintenance. So future projects, we got to stay on yearly crack sealing, patching, small paving projects. We just received the grant for Olympic Highway North, 5.1 million. That road is shattered, right? I mean, you guys have driven it. We are we can't let roads get to that situation again, especially on these major collectors. We got to get to them sooner so they don't cost as much. And we were lucky to get a grant for a significant amount of money for that. We have an overlay in 2025 with Mason County. We're still determining exactly where. We needed this report. This is our roadmap, right? And so on the overlays, I'm probably going for the fair to poor, most likely poor roadways is what we're gonna overlay. And then the joint project with Mason County, the chip seal, likely is gonna be a lot of the fair type of roadways. And then in sections, if they're poor, we'll go in with our small paving projects and pull some panels and take care of it so we can chip seal over the top of some of those. And then we have a general contractor next year working on some of the downtown concrete roadways, which every year we need to keep investing in these concrete roads and not forget about them. They've been sort of neglected for a little too long. So I'm going to make some summary statements here. So the street fund provides for the maintenance operation of the largest asset of the city. This is the most expensive asset that we have. It exceeds the wastewater plants. To properly operate and maintain the street system, we do need more city staff out there eventually. We're running on vapors with just a few people to get out there and do that. We are borrowing people from other departments, and then we charge their time card to the street fund. But down the road, we need to get at least another street person out there working on potholing and that sort of thing. We've done good on equipment purchases. We got the new patch truck, for example, which was a big win for these guys. It drops one person needed. The old patch truck was really laborious. You know, you'd have to send like 4 people out. They're thinking they can get away with 3, maybe even 2, depending on what they're actually doing, if they don't have to flag a whole lot and that sort of thing. So to maintain the existing pavement condition index, additional revenue will be needed to complete the maintenance and restoration projects. That's that grant funding. That's leaning on the county's maintenance division to come in and help us out. So locally acquired street funds is the largest source of revenue for the majority of cities in Washington. We don't, not state or federal funds, because we have to go and get a grant for those, and we don't get them directly, right? So we've been very successful in leveraging our funds. My last job, you guys, when we went out trying to get money, we got a lot of no's. We're doing well here. We really are. The state of Washington supports these smaller cities pretty darn good. And that would be for water, for sewer, for streets. We're getting a good high level support from the state. You know, reservoirs, we've talked about that, right? So our current funding situation, the direct funding, is not unique. Most Washington cities have the exact same problem we do, that the revenue coming in without grants from the state or other agencies, we wouldn't be able to keep up on our maintenance. The TBD, Transportation Benefit District, that's the sales tax, which is 0.2%, is going to sunset in February of 2026. April, I was close. You were close. So in 2021, we got about 552,000 in TBD. This current year was about 675. So 25% of the pavement in the city is good to poor condition. We're going to be targeting that pavement, and then also keep the good pavement at good, right? That's usually crack sealing and some minor potholing. So a proper preventive maintenance of all surfaces will reduce the number of higher cost overlays and full reconstruction, which is more expensive. Also, planned proactive pavement maintenance project reduces reactive labor and material costs for our street maintenance division. What that means is when a road starts alligatoring out, and I start potholing it and doing all that, you have no idea when the potholes are coming up, right? We're out there, we get phone calls, we're driving around, we're reactively deploying people. Grading gravel roads is a huge problem. They pothole out pretty quickly. In some instances, they don't get a lot of traffic, we can get, 3 or 4 or 5 months out of them. But the reactive maintenance is what we need to try to get out of, because when we're planning our people every day, it's way better than the phone ringing and you sending them to places. You never get caught up, right? So improved and well-maintained streets increase livability, decrease automobile maintenance costs. When your car hits that big pothole, guess what? Right? It hurts sometimes. Improves property values, that makes sense. And business activity for the entire community. So here's sort of our policy that I've been talking about, and I tried to develop it into a slideshow here. So the street fund projects that use existing revenue sources are currently prioritized as follow. And the reason why I did this is because when I started here, there was something like, what was it, 20 blocks of paving with TBD or something every year. And it was residential paving, but it was just a little willy-nilly because one, we didn't have enough money to go do 20 blocks. And it all depended on what 20 blocks you were talking about. And then was it a collector? Was it a residential street? Was it in poor? Was it in good? There was no metrics to that decision. So, and the last time I gave this slideshow, this same metric was in there about, I think this is the right way to do it. And I just wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page. That preventive maintenance projects on arterial and collector roadways that have fair to good pavement condition indexes. The heavily traveled roadways, keep doing preventive maintenance, be on those every year or two, right? Don't give up on those, because those are the ones when they start falling into disrepair, the trucks just beat the heck out of them, right? So then the next would be preventive maintenance projects on local roadways with fair to good pavement condition indexes. They don't get pounded by the trucks. You can leave them be for a little while longer, but you do need to get out there and do those next. Rehabilitation or reconstruction projects on arterial and collector roadways with failed, poor, or very poor pavement condition indexes. What that is that local road over there that 10 people travel a day that is in a topsy-turvy condition. We don't invest in that first. We invest in the Olympic Highway North, ones that we're getting 4,000 cars a day on, right? And there's just not enough money to go around. So I can't go fix those low volume local roadways right away, right? And then D is where we would get to those next under this strategy. And then the very last one is try to get wins on gravel roadways. One of the reasons why we push Capitol Hill paving ahead on gravel roadways is those were really steep roadways and we were getting heavy washes on them with the rains. We were up there every 2-3 weeks trying to grade them. The emergency responders were spinning tires in the gravel because they were so steep. And so we made the call that just for risk management, we need to pave any steep gravel roadway we can, and then anything sort of nearby because we're already there, right? And so gravel roadways are sort of a little bit of the back seat, and I don't want them to be. I mean, don't get me wrong, if we had all the money in the world, we would be getting out there and getting on them, but we want to try to prioritize the best we can. Something else I need to mention is that if you have a sewer line, a water line, storm drainage lines, gas lines, anything under existing road, you've got to get those fixed before you go and do any major paving activity on it. You can't go and do a sewer line repair or water line repair or that sort of thing in a road that you just paved. It's just not good public policy. So that's on there. And Mike knows we allocate funding each year from the utility funds to go to roadway projects. Sometimes when we go look at the roadway though, we miss that water line is really bad, right? And so sometimes we will go pave it anyways, but we're trying to get better about that and trying to get our engineering division who designs things ahead of the curve here. So we know, so we're putting in the water line like the year before, and then coming back and paving it a year later sort of thing. So that's sort of the goal on the utility, because you don't want to pave and then turn around and dig it back up again.
We have a 5-year no cut policy anyway.
The no cut policy is an interesting policy that was adopted probably in 2018 or something before I got here. So they call it a no cut policy, and it's actually when I go pave a roadway with public notice to the gas company and electric company, they can't go dig down the middle of the road, and I can't either. If it's an emergency, I can though. For development connections though, if they're unplanned projects, they can go do it. So but they have significant restoration standards in the no cut policy. So you can trench up a roadway, but you're grinding and end laying and chip sealing and trying to make it new again, right? So it's allowed, but the cost is significant to be able to do that. And it's a good policy. I think it's written well, because you can't go pave a roadway and then a year later, there's a 50-lot subdivision that needs to go grab a water line. You know, it just doesn't make sense. You got to allow some cutting of the new pavement surface. So that's it. I threw in a picture of Railroad Avenue. I don't know what the cross street is there. But 1912, we came a long ways. I don't think many of those buildings are around anymore.
I think the town burnt down twice, didn't it? And then the mayor at the last time said, okay, everything's gonna be out of brick. I read that somewhere, maybe at the library.
Okay. Jay, this is a timely presentation because I believe it's November 12th. We have a study session on the Transportation Benefit District, and this obviously feeds into that a great deal, correct?
Yes, so the renewal of the Transportation Benefit District, if council chooses to do that, would need to be, I think discussions you had a couple months ago was November, a year from now, is it be on the ballot?
Right.
Yeah, so the plan, if council has to decide they want to move forward with renewing you're renewing the existing levy of the 0.2%. You're not raising it, whatever. I mean, you could consider things like that, but we need to check into if you can even raise it. But the renewal is what the subject is for about $675,000. It allows these type of programs to exist. Without that funding, and if the general fund has more woes, the street division is gonna have a lot of problems that I won't have matching money for those bigger projects. And I could probably get out and crack seal, pothole and mow. We do a lot of roadside mowing. Probably seen us out doing a lot of leaves right now. And then when we get snow, we have a significant snow response here with the de-icer, gravel, sanders, and then plows. So the street program really depends on the TBD funds the way it currently exists today.
And your report really does show that we have an ongoing need. I mean,
That's correct. And without grants, our pavement condition index would be failing right now.
Well, we'll go back 10 years. Without that TBD for the last 10 years, what would we have gotten done?
Yeah, a lot. And you will see that at the next presentation.
Without the TBD the last 10 years, how many of these projects that you talked about?
I'd say 3/4 of them wouldn't have happened. Yep. And so our pavement condition index, instead of a 72, would probably be in the high 50s, low 60s sort of thing. And we would be in peril. The city I came from was in peril. And and it takes a long time to dig out of the upper 50s, like a decade, right, worth of planned projects like we're doing here. So we need to try to hold on to the rope if we can, would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I remember when the TBD passed, and when the pitch TBD was to fix roads, and people really wanted their roads fixed, their side roads and everything else. And back when we started it, I was still in the audience when it passed, but it was only about 200,000 a year for those 20 blocks, something close to 20 blocks, and then obviously over time it's got more expensive. But yeah, I think people just really wanted their roads fixed, and it passed very high, like 57%. Okay, yes, we're gonna give you this money to fix the roads, and I think that we've been good stewards of that money. We've used it for maintenance, we've used it for grant matches, we've used it for local projects. We did do the 20 blocks a year for probably 2 or 3 years. It was about $225,000 a year. I remember when it started getting a little higher than that. And we came back, I think, Jeff came back to us and said, hey, we got to rethink how we're using this money now. We want to use it some more of it for maintenance, so we can prevent, going into poor condition roads. And I think we changed that. It used to be a percentage. It was like grant match, and it was like maintenance, and it was like money for the local roads. And I think we changed that a couple years ago, but I can't remember. So that's all.
You also remember that our lane miles in the road are probably going to increase. We took on Meadows Edge. We're doing a lot of pre-application conferences for development proposals. And so our lane miles are going to go up in the next 10, 20 years. And what I like about the sales tax mechanism is that it's a fair share. Everybody's paying that, whether you're driving through here on the road and stop at a grocery market, or whether if you live here and order something on Amazon. It's spread very equally around the system. So as our lane miles increase, that sales tax should increase some also.
It makes sense, because even the county employees they come in here to Walmart, Safeway, Fred Meyer, and when they buy their groceries, or their taxable groceries, not their, they're paying for the roads that they're driving on as well. So I like that version as well.
Yep. So any questions?
It's really important that you maintenance before it's deferred maintenance, and you avoid the exponential cost of the issue from the roads. So, $2, $4, $12, way too expensive for us to not do that. So, and I wanted to say thank you for the past 4 or 5 years. The roads have been looking better. Railroad in particular was a lot better. The historic district was great. I know the road that goes up with the Highway North in that area. There's a lot of accidents there. It's really nice to walk up through there. And that condition is very nice, especially with the historic district. So I'd like to keep that momentum going with 672. How do we do that with our minimal fund? I think it was remarkable that we're able to make our road safer. So thank you for your hard work. And it's up to me what we do to keep our roads on the safe path and the least sensitive.
Yeah, and the thank you goes to the maintenance division. 80% of it, I'm the guy that sits in an office and plan and directs and does all that, right? It's the boots on the ground over there, the Todd Rhodes, and the Donnies and Chicken and all those people over there really make it happen. And big applaud to them. And so if you see the maintenance guys, give them a pat on the back, because this is their win, picking up the 3 points when 4 years ago, they said, you weren't going to increase the PCI, your funding level, and we did it, right? Is a testament to them.
They're busy this week with leaves, aren't they?
They're busy with
I
leaves
saw
right now.
A bunch of them all over town Monday, I think, get those leaves.
And anything you can do to help along your frontage is important. If you have a park strip, if you can clean your road up along front and take leaves out of there, that helps our sweeper. They get choked up, and if they get too thick, we have bad problems with the sweeper. That's why you see us out there battling, because you got to get them when they're not as wet and when they're a little thinner. And then if there's a storm drain plugged up, get a rake and attempt to pull it off, but don't pull the grate up. Don't go there, because it'll wash down in and can plug the pipe up. But if you can clean your grate off in front of your house and keep it cleaned off this time of year, that really helps us a lot. And because we don't want people's houses to flood, because you can get a big pond if the inlet, is stopped up for hours on end. And like this weekend, we're supposed to get significant rain. And And the leaves are washing down too. So if people can try to keep the leaves off the grates this time of year, it'd be really appreciated.
Tom, I wasn't paying attention to you up there. Do you have any questions?
No, nothing from me. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Any questions, other questions for Jay? All right.
I have heard that for every dollar spent on, preservation, you can save $1 or pay your cost. You have very accurate.
Yeah, and that's a 1 to 10, 1 to 6 is somewhere in, probably in a better realm. Some of it is all maintenance costs have gone up, the reconstruction. And so it'd be 1 to 10 for a full depth reclamation where you're tearing the whole road up, base rock, hauling it out of there, taking it to a dump site, and then coming in and putting in new base rock, compacting it, and then repaving it would be a 1 to 10. And then it would be down from there though. So just simply the crack sealing and the chip and the slurry seals are really important. And so we need to really ramp up those programs and preserve the pavements that are already out there that are the goods and the fair, and really get a handle on that. And then still get to the poor roadways though. But make sure we've taken care of the good and the fair, and the ones that are salvageable first is what our goal is right now. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Jay.
I got one last plug for everybody, is My Civic. Okay, that application, download it. If you go to on your iPhone or your Android, City of Shelton, download that app. There's a little wheel that comes up. You can report an issue, pick streets, take a picture, and my guys get it. Okay, so if it's something that you could see is going to turn into a major problem soon, get it to us, because the community is our eyes and ears, right? And so it's really important that people help us with My Civic. And we get, and I think we're probably averaging a couple hundred requests a month, maybe 150. That's code enforcement and sewer and water. But we just need people to help us out, because we're not in every neighborhood all the time. We sort of are right now with the street sweepers, but they're street sweeping, right? They're not looking for pavement problems and such. So that would really help if people could do that.
But yeah, every phone call I get about something in the city, I say, hey, we downloaded the app. So I had actually a neighbor that had something to prevent water, like a little hump that the city put in for them, and it kind of went away. And I said, download the app, take a picture and upload it. They were there the next day.
Yep.
They were fixing that for them. So
The problem is if you call me or the city manager and then I type an email to somebody, then it goes over there with their other 50 emails. It's not very efficient. That picture tells 1,000 words too. I mean, I type and type and type trying to explain what a problem is. Sometimes I just get in my car and just use My Civic and just report the app myself for a phone call I took in. But whenever I take a phone call, I ask people to try to download My Civic and use it. It's also available on the city website. If you have a PC, uploading the photo really helps us. And you could do that also at the city website. So very helpful for us.
for roads, parks, code enforcement, what are some of the other categories? There's like
Nuisances, homeless, camps, that sort of thing. Yep.
So you can actually report all kinds of stuff. You can do it with your name, or you can do it anonymously as well. But it's actually a pretty good app. I use it a lot.
And we get back to you too. So what happens is you send us a request, you'll get a message saying it's been opened, it's been received, it's been scheduled or logged in. And then a few days to a week later, it will show up, you'll get an email saying it's been completed. And then you can email back if you got a question about it, and it will say who worked on it and all that. It's a really good app.
Well, thank you, Jay.
You're welcome.
All right, does the council have any new items for discussion tonight? City manager, interim city manager.
Just a couple of reminders for council. Early next week, we'll publish the November 5th council packet. It'll be a pretty big one. because we'll be considering with the public hearing the 2025 budget. So we'll start the evening with the Shelton Metropolitan Park District public hearing and consideration of the budget for them. Then in the regular city council meeting, we'll have the 2025 budget for consideration, and we'll take you through that in some detail. Not just the general fund, but all of the funds. Department directors will be here as well to talk about their budgets, allow you and the public a chance to ask any questions. We'll have a briefing accompanying that along with the ordinance that would be considered then 2 weeks later. We'll have the property tax called the ad valorem property tax for your consideration with the briefing. And then the 2025 master fee schedule with the briefing to explain it. And then I'm including one with track changes so you can see where were we in 2024 with any changes in 2025. And that'll all be on November 5th. So there's a lot coming to you, and I just wanted to give you a heads up that we're working hard on it this week, and the city clerk will have it published sometime early next week. Thank you.
All right, so there's no meeting next Tuesday. It's not on here, but
Fifth
it is,
Tuesday.
huh?
The fifth
It is the
Tuesday.
fifth Tuesday. So we will be back here on November fifth,
Yes.
November 5th. So this meeting is adjourned at 6:50 p.m.